Hey guys, it's Strutter here. It's the 15th of November 2017, about 4:15 in the afternoon here in Vancouver, BC, Canada. And this is a video about, it's a personal video, so it may not interest a lot of people. And it may have some adult content, so if you're not interested in me, or if you're not an adult or don't want to see adult content, then that's your cue to go. But for everyone else, as you recall, I had about 6 months this year, up until just a couple of weeks ago, where I was homeless. So I hadn't done a lot of videos during that time. I did a few when I could from various places where I was staying. I stayed on couches, I rented a room in the boonies, I stayed with a few friends a few times, I stayed in hotel rooms a few times. That's very expensive. Shelters are full. Hostels is very hard to get into. But I stayed in a lot of different places, and even sometimes on the street, even overnight a few times. So I did see a lot, and I did learn a lot in the past 6 months. But I'm not here to talk about that per se. As you also recall, in January of last year, 2016, my grandma died, and I'd been the one that was taking care of her and the home there. My family quickly sold the home because of the hot housing market, and I wasn't able to find a place in time. That was last spring, so I also had a brief time where I had nowhere to be then, and that is when I first experienced the symptoms of fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia, I'll put a link to my video on that below if you're interested, but fibromyalgia is a condition. Basically it's a bunch of vicious cycles that accumulate together and sort of form a condition that damages a person's nerves, brain, and leads to a lot of bothersome symptoms, debilitating symptoms that can last essentially their whole life, and just don't ever get any better and often get worse. But with treatment, proper treatment and diagnosis, of course, a person can learn how to manage themselves when they have fibromyalgia and function and still get through life and do the things that they want to do. And that's me right now, because I have partially recovered. I was very, very sick last year. I nearly died in August a couple of times, once from my heart and once from other issues. So it is very, very, it can have complications. So obviously fibromyalgia wasn't the only thing going on. I obviously had something else happening, but my heart just about lost it all there. But I did make that fibromyalgia video as I started to recover in the fall last year, and I want to talk now more about where I am now and what I plan to do now that I've found a place here in Vancouver in the outskirts. What are my plans, and what am I going to do to get back to health? Because I have to get back to full health. I'm on a lot of pharmaceuticals. I'm supporting the big pharma industry right now, unfortunately. I'm medicating through pills quite a bit, and that it did save my life. Truly did. This medication here, called venlafaxine, saved my life. As far as I know, anyway. That's when I started taking that is when my symptoms started to subside, and I started to be able to handle things again, and I started to not be relying on my wife, who is herself crippled and sick, for care. I couldn't go to the store, I couldn't cook, I couldn't clean after myself. I was basically a mess. I should have been in hospital. I was that sick for that long. For months I was that sick. So I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I went through the worst time that I'd ever been through in my life last year. And I hope to never go back there again. But I am going to be cutting down the medications that I take now, because they themselves have a lot of problems and a lot of long-term implications. So I can talk about what medications I'm on right now. I already mentioned this one. This is Effexor. I'm taking the maximum dose for someone of my size, so I can't take any more of that. I'm now up to the maximum dose of Effexor. Effexor is typically an antidepressant, but it also has anti-anxiety and pain control properties to it once you have it at higher doses. And obviously now I am at higher doses, so it should be having a lot of those effects. And it is, I believe. My mood is better than it was. It was very bad. It's better, but in the way that it's just numb. I don't feel like my mood is happy, unless, I go about making myself happy in other ways, but I don't feel happy, really. I feel more like just not so depressed. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like it throws a wet blanket on it kind of thing. But it did start helping with the pain fairly quickly as I increased my dose from nothing all the way up to here where I am at 300. By the time I got to about halfway, about 150, I was noticing that it was helping with pain. Like, I have nerve pain down my legs and all over my body. I have pain and increased sensitivity to pain, or even to light touch and different things. That's what fibromyalgia does. It really, really messes a person's nerves. So that's venlafaxine. It has a lot of side effects, but what's even worse is the withdrawal. Trying to withdraw from this stuff is a nightmare. You literally feel like you are not part of reality anymore. It's not like a dizzy sense, but sort of more like, well, I wouldn't say your vision is swimming, but it's almost like all your senses just start to not function properly, sort of in waves, and it hits you and you're like, what the hell? Oh shit, I forgot my pill today. And then you run and take your pill. And then within a couple hours you start to feel a bit more normal. So it's not like you get a pleasurable feeling or a happy feeling from antidepressants, at least this one. What I get is just a deadening of those depressed feelings. So it just kind of takes the edge off the depressed feelings. And a lot of withdrawal problems, big time. And dry mouth, but that's something that you can deal with. There's a lot of side effects you can deal with yourself, but the ones that really bother me are things like when I'm withdrawing from it, I feel like I'm not even real, or like the reality is, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it's not right. And I've done some, one time when I couldn't get my pills, I was, homeless. Couldn't get my prescription, couldn't get my pills, couldn't get to a doctor in time, and I didn't have pills for a couple of days. And really, really messed up. I don't know why these are legal. I really don't. I'm now a slave to this drug. I cannot come off of venlafaxine without a very long and uncomfortable withdrawal process of like weaning down very slowly. So that's kind of bothersome. That's one reason I want to do so. I want to get down off of so much of it. That next one there is Remeron, or mirtazapine. And as you can see, I take a half a tablet. That is another antidepressant, but it also is good for sleep. And so when taken together, apparently they have a nickname. Effexor and Remeron together are called California rocket fuel, I was told by my psychiatrist. But anyway, because it works so well, it was known to have such a good effect together. So I am apparently on the rocket fuel right now. I find very little side effects with this Remeron. It just feels kind of like, it's sort of a comforting feeling. And it's not like right when you take it. It's one of those pills that has to build up in your system. But I just feel like when I'm on Remeron, I feel like a bit of a comforted feeling. And I don't know, that's just all I can say about it. And of course it does make you tired, so it's good at night. Unfortunately, I am on a lot of Tylenol. These are extra strength, 500 milligrams, and that's down a lot from where it was. I was in a lot of nerve pain last year, so much so that I was like literally like scratching at my skin in frustration and crying and begging for help, even though no one can do anything. It was that bad for weeks. So I was on the maximum I could take safely, and a bit more. I'm now down to 4 extra strength a day, but I want to be taking a lot less than that. And I take as little medication as I need to. Trust me, I'm not the kind of person that over-medicates at all. At all. Advil for inflammation and pain. And this is Zopiclone or Imovane. I take a half of a 5 milligram. That's not a large dose, but it is not a good medication to be on long term. It's good for sleep, and it can knock you out. I would recommend it for people who are having acute sleep problems and need to get a good night's sleep. Other than a funny taste in your mouth and some grogginess the next day, it doesn't have much of a side effect. But long term, it's sort of it's kind of a depressant itself, I think. Imovane. It's a CNS depressant, I believe, and it just sort of it slows things down. It's not a healthy medication to be on long term, and it's habit forming. You start to get. I mean, I've been offered this exact pill downtown, walking down to a dispensary to buy weed. I've been offered Imovane, and I was shocked at first. I said, "What? Imovane? That's a legal pill. What is he selling legal pills for?" Oh, A, because he can just go in and get them from a pharmacy, and B, because they are addictive. They are habit forming. They really are. So we need to take less of these habit forming medications, I think, if we can help it. I'm not saying to go off your meds or whatever. This isn't medical advice. I may be a nurse myself. I worked 10 years in psychiatry, but that doesn't mean that this is medical advice or that this is advice for you specifically. So if you take it that way, you're a fool. I'm just talking about what I'm doing. Look at all this codeine. I got all that for free. I got all this for free. Everything's for free. They don't make you pay for any of these drugs. Okay, right. Tylenol you have to pay for in a store. That's right, Advil. But these prescribed pills, no. And I was given all this codeine. That's all free. I had a kidney stone. Passed on its own. It was fine. But it was a lot of pain. And they gave me morphine, and that really worked nice. That was the first time I'd ever had morphine. But they sent me home with a giant pile of codeine. And you can sell these downtown on the east side. Going down to Main and Hastings. You could sell that. I don't know how much you get per pill, but you'd get a few bucks. You'd come home with some cash. And I got Percocets. They gave me a Percocet. Just cause. Here, take some Percocets. That's oxycodone. That's incredibly harmful and incredibly addictive. So here we are taking incredibly harmful, incredibly addictive, habit-forming medications that are a fucking nightmare to come off of. Literally a nightmare. Trust me. Weird, fucked up shit happens when you try to come off of venlafaxine quickly. So, all these medications don't work very well. All these medications have side effects, and some of these medications are habit-forming and very tough to come off of and unpleasant. So if we're taking these pills to make our health better and increase our happiness and make our quality of life better, then are they really doing that? I have so many pill bottles. I haven't been collecting them. Trust me. There was just a few sitting around when I went to record this video, but I should have been saving them from the beginning because I have accumulated a lot of pills. I have been through a lot of pills in the past couple of years, and I'm not a pill person. I literally only take what I have to cut the pain down to the point where I can get through the day. I don't even try and kill all the pain because I can't. I've had pain now for almost 2 years every day. So one thing that really does work for me though, and I'm not just saying this because it's fun, is cannabis. Here is some pure, essentially pure THC. It's about 75% THC, maybe 5% CBD and other cannabinoids in there, and some inert oils and things from the plant. But this is extracted out of the plant. This is called shatter or resin or oil or different names. Different processes. You can make butter or different things out of it. But basically, it's dabs. It's a little bit of cannabis, and you just take a little dab of it like that off. And another way to get your cannabis is in the cookies and other edibles. But this is my medicine. This is what works for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this to cut down on the number of pills I have to take. That is my plan, and I know it's working for a lot of people. There are people getting off of heroin on the downtown east side of Vancouver with dabs, literally. I have helped people come off of heroin with dabs down there. I do activism in the downtown core every Saturday, giving out dabs and selling dabs, and being part of a free market down there, a cannabis farmers market, which is really awesome. It's some of the best activism I've ever been part of, and I'm really thankful to everyone else who's a part of that group. Thank you guys. So I am going to use my resources in the community to access high quality extracted cannabinoids, and I'm going to put those directly into my brain and into my body, because I have receptors in my brain and I have receptors in my body for this stuff, for cannabinoids. CBD, CBN, THC, THCV, CBG, CBC. There are a lot of different cannabinoids, and I can get access to those. Of course, it's not the perfect access. I have to, this is shatter or whatever. I don't know exactly the profile of cannabinoids that are in here, and I don't have access to some of the more exotic cannabinoids for killing cancer and different other diabetes and things like that. But THC, CBD, and a trace spattering of other cannabinoids is basically perfect. It's going to do the trick for my pain. I know that. And what I plan to do is I'm going to cut down these medications. So what I'm going to do is, for the venlafaxine, instead of these two, I'm going to take 1.5. The peach-colored ones are the smaller ones. These are 150 each, and they're 75. So imagine there's 1.5 instead of 2, and then 2 of the Tylenols instead of 4, and that's actually quite a big thing for me. But I'm going to step up the dabs. I'm going to step up the cannabis to deal with the pain. So I'm also hoping to be able to get rid of one of the Advils, and I am going to get rid of one of the pills that I have for sleep, and that's the Imovane. I'll keep the Remeron, which is also good for depression and sleep. Get rid of the Imovane, which is a little bit more harmful and a little bit more habit-forming also. So I'm trimming down already that much, down to that much in a day, plus my supplements and vitamins and whatever, and of course some cannabis. So without further ado, let us use a little bit of cannabis now, and I'll show you how it works for me anyway. I'm going to use my torch to heat up. Can you see that? Yeah. To heat up the titanium nail on this glass rig. And then once that's done, I can apply the dab and inhale. And you should be able to see the entire process. All right, let's go. Okay, that's nice and glowing red hot. Let's vaporize these cannabinoids and get them into my brain. Oh yeah, there's no smoke in there, it's just vaporized oil, so wow. And it coats the inside of your lungs, so that's why the it's not coughing really, but oh wow. And within about 20 seconds I start to notice pain reduction. And cannabis also works on depression. Certain strains can be used for depression. Cannabis works for PTSD. Cannabis works for anxiety, although only certain cannabinoids are better for anxiety. Some will raise anxiety in certain people. I don't have a lot of problem with that, but some cannabinoids are definitely better than others for anxiety. And what else we got? Fatigue. I haven't had too much luck dealing with the fatigue aspect with cannabinoids, although I do find that some give me more energy than others, and I will be experimenting more with that. Insomnia, absolutely. One of the best ways to get back to sleep is THC. A dab will definitely knock you back to sleep, and it will be a nice, pleasant, non-drugged sleep, a natural feeling sleep with no hangover. I do that almost every night when I wake up. Nightmares sometimes, or just heart pounding for no reason, wake up. And never used to have that up until 2 years ago, but now when I get that, a little dab, about 10 minutes later, fast asleep, usually not even 10 minutes. And it feels really good, feels really pleasant, really nice. And a dab is worth about, say, $1 to $1.50 for a decent sized dab that will last you and keep you medicated for a good 2 to 3 hours. So it is, I do have to pay for it myself. It's not covered like my psych meds are, my Effexor and whatnot, but I don't care. It's my health that matters most to me, and this works best for me, so I'm going to have to pay dearly for it. Cannabinoids are worth $50 a gram, approximately. It's the same price as gold, $50 a gram. I'm talking Canadian dollars here. In any case, hi from my new place in the outskirts of Vancouver. Actually, pretty close in to Vancouver now, closer in than before. Just a tiny SkyTrain ride away from the downtown core of Vancouver, where police step over people dying of opiate overdoses, literally every day in the streets. I've seen it. To go and bust cannabis gardens or dispensaries. Now, luckily, they don't do it very much here in BC. They're especially in Vancouver, they're better about cannabis than in a lot of places, but it needs to be even better than that. We need no prohibition at all on cannabis. We need the lies to end, the stigma to end. Cannabis doesn't destroy your brain. I've used cannabis other than taking some breaks here and there. I took a 3-month break and some, another break about a month or so, and a couple of breaks that were a few weeks each. But other than that, I've used cannabis pretty regularly for the past almost, I'd say, a decade. So, and it was what spawned this channel. It's why this channel exists. Literally, it would not have happened if I hadn't been using cannabis. I created this channel based on some ideas I had when I was high. So there is a lot of benefit that people get from cannabis, and it could just be a human rights issue or a liberty issue. Do we not have the liberty to do what we want as long as we're not harming others? I'm not even asking anyone to pay for this. I'm just asking not to be persecuted for it anymore, not to be considered a criminal. Justin Trudeau doesn't believe that shatter is legitimate, and he thinks that extracts of cannabis, cannabinoids taken out of the plant, now, there's no leaf or stem here or stick. Now that is a drug to him, and it is not a medicine, and it's considered a harmful drug, something to be punished for. He wants to punish people for up to 14 years in prison and tens of thousands of dollars in fines, or both, for cannabis offenses like growing more than 4 plants within one building. Each building can only have 4 plants. Does that make sense? There's a lot of really bad laws coming in here, and now people keep saying, oh, well, be happy, it's legalization's here. Legalization? What does that mean now? Nothing. When we said we wanted legalization here in Canada, it meant stop throwing people in jail for growing, extracting, using, trading, buying, and selling cannabis. That's it. That's what we meant. We didn't mean for you to create all these new laws and new prohibitions. We're tired of prohibition. We don't need prohibition. Prohibition doesn't even work. It's really time to end it. It should have been ended so long ago. It's unfortunate and frustrating that I'm still having to fight this battle. While my friends are in prison, my friends are dying, my friends are dead because they can't or couldn't get enough cannabis or the right kinds of cannabis for their condition. One of them is a friend of mine from YouTube, Skybird, Erica. Do you remember her? Great channel, great lady, great person, a friend of mine. She couldn't get cannabis. She wanted it. She had MS. The medications that they were giving her were making her go crazy and were making her hate herself and were making her feel so uncomfortable she didn't want to be alive. And now she isn't. And she asked me about cannabis. She said, can you help me get it? And I didn't know how at the time. And I feel really bad. I still feel really bad, and I miss her. She was a friend like Charlie. In fact, she knew Charlie. There was a community of us. And Erica was one person who asked me about cannabis because she thought it would help her. And we now know that it does help with MS pain and a lot of the other symptoms of MS. So I can't not do what I do. My wife uses cannabis to keep the cancer out of her spine. And we recently got an MRI, and the doctors looked at it with us in the room, and they said, wow, all the tumors are gone. There's nothing in here except for 3 cysts and some other unidentified stuff. But, well, along with a lot of titanium rods and other parts keeping her spine together, but that we know about that. It was such good news to find out that there were no tumors. And she does have pain, still a lot of pain in that area. But they said that you're always going to have that pain. And they said, we can give you a prescription for what you need. And she said, I use cannabis for that. And they said, we can help you with that. So now she has, not a prescription, but let me show you it actually, right there. Can you see that? Patient uses cannabis for medical purposes for chronic pain. And the doctor's signature. So it's not a prescription, but it's like a get out of jail free card, basically. It means that her doctors know that she uses cannabis and that it works for her and that it does work for pain. And it's nice to hear a doctor say that it works for pain. I know it does because I know it from my life, and I know it does because of so many other people who use it for pain. And I know it does because I've read so many lab studies that prove that it works for pain. But it's nice to have a doctor say that. And so, back to the story, she now has that prescription. And they said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. This is before she talked about cannabis. They said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Meaning, you are currently cancer-free. So, we don't have proof that, in her case, that she destroyed the tumors with the cannabis. It could have been anything, right? But we're not going to stop doing what we're doing. It is keeping us healthy, and it is keeping our quality of life up and a lot higher than what it would be without it. So I do my activism for a lot of reasons, and I think you can see some of them as I'm talking about this. And thanks to my connections in activism, I have access to such great medication like this shatter, which is making me feel great right now. Do any of these medications make me feel great? No. Now, if they did, would that mean that they should be illegal? No, I think they should be illegal for other reasons. These are terrible, terrible ways to cure pain and to cure depression. But if that's the only way that works for someone, then, or the only thing they have at the time, then that's what they should use. And that has worked for me. It did work. It saved me. But now I have another option. Now I have this, which not only works on depression, not only works on PTSD, which the Effexor doesn't, and works on pain, and works on insomnia, and other than having to pay for it, there's almost no downsides. A lot of downsides. A lot of withdrawals. And addiction. Addiction? No. I can stop using cannabis anytime I want, and I have, for up to 3 months. The only thing that happens is my symptoms come back and I don't feel as good. Stop taking this, and all hell breaks loose. So, I'm just pointing a few things out here, and I hope you can understand why I'm trying to cut down a little bit on those medications. So, a sleeping pill and 3 pain pills are gone as of tomorrow, and half of one of these will be gone as of tomorrow as well. And I will do an update. It won't be as long as this one. This is obviously the opener. It's got a lot of ranting in it, but I will do an update soon. Anyone needs some Percocets and Tylenol 3s? Just kidding. Garbage. Let's do another dab. Talk to you guys soon.